Hey, this is Mike McAdam from GenX Guitar. Today I'm going to be taking you through the 2023 model of my pedal board. Wait before it changes again. So, like many guitarists, my pedal board is apt to change at any moment. But one of the great things about YouTube is being able to see other players' boards and kind of learn from them. So hopefully, if you see how I structure my board, maybe you get something out of it, or just seeing how I've assimilated my pedals. One of the things I really try to do is if I'm not using something much, I take it off. I really try to have everything on here be used pretty frequently, and it has a purpose. So a lot of times there are things I could do with the board, like integrate MIDI or integrate some other things, but I really try to keep it simple. And with this current setup, it allows me to not have to do too much tap dancing, and I can get the sounds that I use most frequently, I can get to them very quickly. So anyway, I'm going to start just going into the board. I have two Bona Fide buffer pedals from TC Electronics, and as mentioned in the recent review I did on their Spark pedal, I really think TC Electronics have hit it out of the park with a lot of their mini pedals and a lot of the kind of rebrand they've done in the last 10 years. So this buffer is no exception. I have one that starts off the chain. So I have basically all this going through a bypass looper, which is made by Road Rage. And I have a couple of products from them. They can basically configure any kind of bypass looper that you want. Check out my review on bypass loopers and why every guitarist who plays out should have one. But this one, like I said, it has 6 different loops in it that I will use. So the first pedal I have in my chain is the TC Electronics Boost pedal, Spark Boost pedal. And I have the mini version of this pedal. I also do a review of this pedal. Check it out here. And basically, I really like this pedal. It's very transparent. It's small. It's a small footprint on the board. And I found if I put it to the left, it has the most effectiveness being clean and transparent. If you put it after your drive pedals on the right, it has a slightly different sound. It's not as effective as a booster, but your mileage may vary. The second pedal I'm using is the Catalinbread Belle Epoch Echoplex pedal. And this pedal is fantastic. I really like the delays on it. It's very, there's a lot of different things you can do with it. But one of the magical qualities is its ability to kind of change the preamp characteristics of your guitar. Let me give you a demo of what that sounds like. So I'm going to start with the pedal off, but what you're going to hear is, and I'll just play this A note, but when I put the pedal on, it just does something like the harmonic content of the note changes. It's slightly more saturated. I'll do it one more time. Just does something to the signal that I like. So a lot of times I'm not even using a discrete delay sound. I'm just using it to shape the preamp or the front end of my amp. So a lot of times what I'll do with this pedal is I'll do one of 2 delay settings with it. I'll show you the first one. One of the settings that I will frequently do with the pedal is use a really short delay. It's probably 40-50 milliseconds, and it almost sounds like a slightly bigger room. It just sounds like a room atmosphere, and I kind of use it like this. So it's pretty subtle, but it does add just a little extra space to the sound. And I will stack another delay on it later, which I will tell you about. The other thing I will do with this sometimes is I will use kind of the hold function that's on the pedal. And let me show you what that sounds like. And the other thing I will typically do will be just the kind of typical, 3 to 350 milliseconds of a delay where it's just kind of sitting behind the guitar. And that sounds like this. So those are the ways that I will typically use that delay pedal. The next pedal in the chain is an Eventide H9 pedal. Now this pedal is really pretty powerful with the things you can do with it, but I'm doing pretty basic things with it. So I'm really using it for some reverb. I have two different types of reverbs on it. One is a long, it's like a spring reverb. The other one's a plate reverb. And I will use a delay, and the micro pitch chorus sound on there is fantastic. I absolutely love it. And that's about it. So a couple of things I have that I've added on is I have this Barn 3 OX9 pedal, and it's an auxiliary pedal for the H9 that allows you to have more control over it. So what I will do is, instead of using a MIDI pedal, I will just scroll through the Barn 3 OX9 and just get whatever preset I want and then activate it with the H9. So this is another pedal I basically have on almost all the time I play, along with the delay pedal, and the two of these together sound really good. Another thing I really enjoy about the H9 is by using the expression pedal, you can really dial in the exact amount of an effect that you want. And once you start using a pedal that way, you don't want to go back to kind of the static way of using a pedal where you're just turning on and you get what you get. To that point, if you look at my Belle Epoch, I have a little device on the output knob that controls how much of the effect I get. So sometimes I'll play with that while I'm playing, but the H9 allows you to do it with an expression pedal. Let me show you what that sounds like. So with that example, I took a modulated delay and just controlled how much signal, or how much, wet dry was in the signal based on the specific song or situation where I'm playing. So this makes the H9 really, really powerful. I can also do the same thing with delays, where if I want a certain part to poke out, I can use the expression pedal to do that. And that would sound like this. So with that, I just took a delay patch and just, if I wanted a certain note to stand out, I would just lay into the expression pedal and allow it to do so. So I found the H9 has been a really powerful tool for me. The other pedal I'm using here that's basically always on is the Nobels ODR1. And this is a really classic pedal that a lot of guys have used over the years. I think the greatest thing about this pedal is it really is an extension of your amp. Unlike any other pedal I've ever seen, where you can really just plug it into anything and it's going to sound like a natural extension of it. And I love the range you can get on this pedal. A lot of people tend to use it for lower gain type stuff, which it really excels at. But what I found with it is, through all of the gain settings on it, it has the same kind of EQ curve to it. The spectrum knob on it is incredibly versatile, so you can do a lot of different things with it. I have it connected to a volume pedal. So really what I'm trying to do is, instead of using the volume pedal only on my guitar, I'm going to use it on the floor. Now I've heard, for example, Mason from Vertex say that that's kind of redundant, but you do get more control with it on the floor, and you can use it more in real time than I would want to use on stage. So let me give you an example of what that sounds like. So you can get a lot of dynamics out of that pedal, and what I find with most pedals that you start running a lot of gain into, you can't get it to clean up like that. It's very difficult to do. So I think that's the best thing about the Nobels, other than it just sounds great. A couple other things I have on my board. I have this pedal here. It's a Metaldozer. It's basically a steel plate that allows you to mount a mic stand in it, which is super useful on stage, where a lot of times space is always a problem. So this saves a lot of space. I saw this product at NAMM a few years ago and couldn't get one fast enough. It has made my life much easier. It's a very cool product. Next, I have You guessed it, the Ibanez Tube Screamer. I have a TS9 that has been modified by Analog Man. I had it modified back in 1997. This pedal's been used so much, literally the casing on the bottom has flaked off, but it just sounds really, really good. One of the things I will use this pedal for is if I want more of a high gain kind of sound, I can engage it and it will really meld itself into the sound of, in this case, the Nobels. So let me show you what that sounds like. So obviously the Tube Screamer can do much more than that, but in this context, you know, I'm not using it for the kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Mayer kind of thing. I'm using it to get more of a high gain sound out of my amp. So it does that really well in this context, and I have it to the right of the Nobels ODR. So last in the chain is an MXR Phase 90, and I remember the first time I checked one of these pedals out, the early 90s, I was like, it has one knob. Like, how is it going to be able to sound, you know, be able to do a lot of different sounds? But the versatility of that pedal is absolutely amazing. I usually run it at about 9 o'clock, but you can get some fairly convincing Leslie type sounds out of it by turning it up. It's just a fantastic phaser. It's one of those pedals, again, I have used one for 30 years now, and it's never not been on my board. So it always, you can do the kind of Van Halen thing where you have it set low and it adds more of that treble boost and it kind of compresses it a little bit. Or, like I said, you can turn it up and get more kind of modulation sounds or Leslie type sounds. And yeah, so I have my expression pedal at the end, my volume pedal. This is a pedal train pedal board that I have the hard shell case for. And I have a custom audio electronics power supply on the bottom that I've had for over a decade now. That has been a super solid piece of gear that is really quiet and works really well. As far as the amp I'm using, I have a 1971 Princeton Reverb by Fender. It's a non-reverb model. On smaller gigs, I will usually use this amp. On slightly bigger gigs, I have a Top Hat Supreme 16 with a 212 cabinet that I will use. And I find with those two setups, it gives me the most versatility, and a lot of the sounds I'm trying to get are really coming from the pedals. So that's what I'm using this year. Of course, it might change 5 minutes from now, but at this moment, this is what's working for me. So hopefully you were able to get some good information out of this and maybe find some things that will work for you in what you're trying to do building your board. And also, I almost forgot to mention, I have a Boss TU3S. I've been using this series of tuners for almost 20 years now. When they first came out, it was kind of a game changer as far as an on-stage tuner being that bright. In the last few years, they came out with the non-pedal version, which I have patched into my volume pedal. And this is just a super solid, reliable tuner that I can see easily on stage. And again, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space on my board. So that's it. So that's my 2023 pedal board. Could change at any moment. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me about your own pedal board experiences. As guitarists, we obsess over this stuff endlessly. So I love to talk to other players and see how they're doing things and what works for them. So this is Mike from GenX Guitar. I will see you in the next video.